Cool. Well, the new album, 2, is only a few days away now.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, there's quite a long gap in between this and the first album, which also called Serpent Omega, of course. Why such a long time in between albums?
Well, I mean, time is a relative thing, and um, uh, well, I think it depends on a few different things. First of all, we've never felt any rush in anything that we do. We prefer to work with quality instead of quantity. But also, the album was actually finished like 2.5 years ago, and we recorded the entire album and it was done and we were ready to release it. But we decided to change drummers. And with that decision, we also decided to re-record the entire album because we wanted Peter to be, featured on this album too, as well. And and that took another 2 years. so yeah, I'd say that's it. And we also we're really perfectionists, all of us, and we want to do things the best way possible. And we also work in this kind of time-consuming process where we everyone has a veto and everyone has a saying about exactly everything. That goes for artwork, that goes for every riff, for the lyrics, for everything. So it takes a lot of time to work in that process, but we can also really trust that process because we are all really happy with the end result. And it's not like you release an album and you regret anything. We worked it through so thoroughly. So I'd say that's it. That's why it took 7 years.
Well, at least you got good reasons.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, it's a really good idea re-recording it with the new drummer as well, because that way then obviously fans can hear what he's bringing to Serpent Omega. And also when it comes to you being able to perform live again, they can really hear his own stamp as opposed to if it was the old drums. Because I'm sure he'll do things differently. He has his own way of playing and everything.
I totally agree. I mean, it's really important, and he brings this sort of. He has a really special way of playing drums. I think it's very, it's dynamic, it's brutal, it's dark, and it's really powerful. And with him and him on drums, I mean, it changed the songs too. I mean, for the better. Yeah. So the second version of 2 is a better version than the first version.
It's funny because obviously the second album being called 2, everyone just kind of assumes that's the reason. But there does seem to be quite a lot of hidden meaning behind calling it 2. Like you say, it's the second time recording it.
Yeah.
It was recorded 2.5 years ago, so.
Yep. Absolutely right. And so it appears to be a really simple title, but it's not really. No. It has a lot of meaning to it, and also like the theme for this whole album is the end of the world as we know it and the beginning of a second reality, you can call it. So it has a lot of meaning to us.
Yeah. Perfect time to release an album like that then.
I think it is. We didn't plan that though. We plan a lot of things, but we did not plan the corona pandemic. No. Or did we? I don't know.
Now that would be the most metal thing anyone's ever done.
Yeah, for sure. Now we can't take credit for this.
Obviously, like you say, you brought in the new drummer. Aside from the drums, how has the music evolved since the first album?
I think in this album you can hear more black metal influences as well, which is like really obvious when you listen to the entire album. I also think that I have a wider vocal range on this album compared to the first album. Then again, like we don't ever plan. We don't sit down and talk about what kind of album we're supposed to make or how a song should sound. Like we work in a really intuitive sort of way. but I say that like the changes I can that I can really see and hear are those two things basically. The black metal sort of inspiration that is quite vivid on this album, and the different styles of vocals I use throughout the album.
It's interesting because Serpent Omega is such a hard band to classify, because obviously you have kind of the doom and sludge influences, but like you say, the black metal is more prevalent on this album, and you can hear elements of crust as well. So these are all very different aspects, and you can't even describe it as it's Crowbar meets Extreme Noise Terror meets Dark Throne or whatever. It's just it's very interesting because I think it's so hard for, especially nowadays, bands to create a sound of their own. But already, I believe that's what Serpent Omega has done.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I agree, and I think that I think the recipe behind it is that like we always let the best riff win. We don't have this like this is not a black metal riff, so it can't make the cut. But if it's if it's a good riff, it's gonna make the cut. So we let that guide us basically, and I think that has created a really unique sound. And I agree. Like we met when playing live and stuff. Like bookers have difficulties labeling us because what are we? We're all of those genres and none of them. So and we can also see like the two singles that were released from this album. They've ended up on playlists with a broad variety of genres, and I think that's a good. It works for us, and I hope that people can appreciate it. Like we're not stuck in a box when we do things. Like we let best riff win.
Which is, I think, the perfect way to do things. You don't want to just paint with grey. You want to paint with different colours. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like if I've sent out the music video for Land of Darkness to friends, and they go, "Oh, what kind of band is it?" I just go, "Good." You know what I mean? It's
like... Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
problem,
No, but I think it confuses people. People tend to like to put things in a box in order to be able to talk about it, and when you don't fit that box, it makes you like an outsider, basically. So I think it takes perhaps more time for people to appreciate a band such as Serpent Omega, but I think as well that we have like really deadheads sort of fans too, just because of that. That we are outsiders in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned the Land of Darkness video there. I want to ask you a little bit about that because it's a very striking video. It's very visual. It reminds me a little bit of Mandy, which came out 2 years ago. I don't know if you saw that. But
no, I don't think I have.
It's very metal. It's a Nicolas Cage movie, but it's very much based on like 80s metal and things like that.
Really? How could I miss that one?
It's super over the top and cartoonishly violent, but it is very vibrant with its colors and things like this. So.
Oh, cool.
So I was wondering basically what the visual influences behind the video were and how well it represents the album as a whole. Well,
I think since this is our first video, we decided to make it as close to a live appearance as possible. Okay. And so basically what you see in the video for Land of Darkness is like an outtake of us on stage, I guess you could say. We have all of those things live, and it's always really dark and monochrome and a lot of smoke, and so we wanted to like have a video that really represented us as a band, and I think we're pretty close. However, of course, watching something live is always better, I think, anyway. Also live you have the advantage of turning the volume up to an absolute max, which creates like sound waves in your body when you watch us, and and that kind of helps with the with the entire experience of Serpent Omega. But I think this video is actually kind of close to us live, and which was what we were aiming for as well. We wanted to give people, you know, a taste of Serpent Omega live.
Yeah, I looked up some live footage of you, and again, like you say, it was very dark. It was like I couldn't tell if you were all in shadow, if it was just the way it was filmed. But
no, I think we're pretty close to being just shadows actually live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that's cool. That's a little bit like 1349 in a way. They're very
Yeah.
much like shadow lit, and
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
Sun, you know, the band Sun,
yeah, of course,
yeah,
yeah,
the drum, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
and I like that. Like I want people to be able to walk into this sort of space where you can't really tell if it's real or not, and
yeah,
it gets you closer to like some sort of ritual appearance, or
yeah.
um, and I think that fits our music really well.
Mm.
Mm.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about the art for the album itself. I mean, I don't want to say it's basic, but it's um, straightforward. There's
Yeah.
some really beautiful colors in there, and obviously the logo is very prominent on the album. Um, Again, how well do you believe the artwork for the album represents the music as a whole?
Well, since I'm the artist behind the cover, I'd say excellent. No, but I mean, everything we do is like, regardless of it's being a video or if it's a cover or whatever it may be. I mean, it's just a piece of a bigger puzzle, I guess, and um, we aim to, of course, make everything that we do an extended part of the music,
Yeah,
where you can find clues, or you can find um, an extended universe to enter, to experience the music in. And I think that, like for me, I draw a lot of inspiration from nature and forests, and as you see on the cover, it's like a dark forest scenery, which is actually, if you have the vinyl, it's a gatefolded vinyl, and inside the gatefold there's a band picture of the and that picture is taken in the same forest scenery,
okay,
so which is just near where I live, and I go there a lot to think and to like connect with nature and stuff, and I am yeah, so and to me, Serpent Omega really like draws a lot of the same sort of brutal powers that you can find in nature, you can find in our music. So I think that the album cover is also an extension of that.
mm,
So I think it's a good representation of the music.
good.
Hmm,
It's
yeah.
interesting the way that nature seems to be influencing more extreme music nowadays. Obviously, there's yourself, there's bands like Myrka or Wolves in the Throne Room who are also
Yeah.
very influenced by nature.
Mm.
So it's quite fascinating in a way that something so beautiful can lead itself to something so dark. But which is not to say something dark can't be beautiful.
No,
It,
exactly. I think there's a lot of beauty in darkness.
yeah,
And I also think that there's a lot of, I mean, we live in a really, um, in a sort of switched off way from
yeah,
our true nature and what we're about. Like we are so we rely so much on technology and cities and infrastructures that we've kind of forgotten where we come from.
yeah,
I mean, we are nature.
yeah,
All of this that's going on in the deep, dark, ancient forests is a part of each and every one of us. And I think that heavy music sort of works like a like a vessel for this.
yeah,
So you can yeah, I can't describe it any better than that. Like it's a vessel for that kind of energy that
Yeah,
we may lack. No, not lack.
we might ignore sometimes.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, exactly. And we pretend it's not there, and
Yeah,
I think that creates a lot of frustration in people and anger. And like heavy music can be some sort of an what's the word I'm looking for? It could be some sort of yeah, you can get output. Like you could get output. Like if you can experience all that in heavy
yeah,
music, and you can use that, and you can. I mean, you can either walk 7 miles out in a dark forest, or you can put on a really fucking heavy album, and you get the same kind of energy.
yeah. Well, nowadays we can do both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank fuck for that.
It's interesting though because I keep saying it's interesting, but it is. Um, I think in its own way, heavy metal and especially black metal has always been about tearing down um, like crutches that we've built for ourselves, whether it be technology or religion or anything like that.
Mm.
So it does. The nature is a very fundamental part of it, I think. So
Yeah,
plus
I
the
agree.
again, I can't help throwing out comparisons to movies, but the artwork and the messages that I've got from songs so far, it does remind me of Antichrist, which came out about 11 years ago now. But
Oh,
I
I
don't know if
like
you saw
that.
that. I like that one too, but that's another one. It's the darkness and simultaneous beauty in nature. So
Yeah,
I think this suits Serpent Omega very well.
I agree. Yeah, it's the same sort of, it's nerve-wracking basically watching that movie, and I think
Yeah,
it's almost like your experience being threatened throughout the entire movie, and I've heard people describe our music the same way actually.
mm,
So I think that's a good
yeah. I can certainly
good
see why.
reference.
Thank you. Um, Obviously, like we said, there is so much going on right now. So, how difficult has it been to promote the album, given that you can't really perform shows or go on tour or anything like that?
Well, to be honest, like I think we are the worst promoters ever. Playing in a band throughout all times. Like we don't do that. We
Right.
uh, we're lucky enough that things happens anyway. I mean, we get good gigs. People put us on like really awesome shows with other awesome bands, and yeah, we don't do anything. And it's not because we don't want to, but it's like I think that we're so focused on like just writing music and doing artworks and whatever it may be, and that's what it's about for us. And of course, playing live, it's we are a live band foremost, but
Mm,
no, we never worked like with promotion. Now we have a record label that is really good at this, and I mean, it's amazing that people wants to talk to us and hear about our music and what we do and what we're about.
mm.
So of course we don't turn things down, but we don't work like intensely ourselves to make it happen. It just happens, which
Okay.
is of course amazing if you're a lazy band like us. But um, but as far as like shows and stuff, I mean, it is the way it is now throughout the
Yeah.
world with the pandemic, and I mean, all our shows that were booked has been postponed to 2021, and yeah,
Mm.
we have to find other ways, I guess, and doing small club gigs, or if I can just drive out in the forest and have a gig there. I mean, you can still do things like that. So we're thinking about that, and yeah, I don't know yet what's going to happen, but of course we'll play live. We,
Yeah.
that's what we want to do. We have this amazing album, and of course, we want to play it live.
Of course. You mentioning the idea of a gig in the forest there. I'd have to smuggle myself to Sweden because that would be amazing to see.
You have to.
Have to.
You
No
have to.
question.
Good. I'll make sure I'll help you out with that, the smuggling part.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Hopefully you can make that happen. And then once things calm down, it'd be great to have you over in the UK. And I know for a fact there's people in America that want you over there. So
Yeah, I would love to go and of course and play this album throughout the world, of course.
of course.
And with this label, I think as well that we have more power behind it than we had with the first album. So
Yeah.
I'm positive, carefully positive about coming out and play this album.
Well, I hope it happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, me too. Of course, of course. I mean, and everyone everyone wants to go and watch live bands. I mean,
Yeah.
I miss it so much myself. Like, fuck, the world becomes so small, and you can't, watch your favorite bands anymore. That's horrible. Or discover new bands, or go to festivals, and life is empty without it.
Yeah. At the same time, though, like it's not stopped bands from releasing new albums. Obviously, you've got yours coming out on Friday, and there's a lot of bands still releasing their debuts at this time. But of course, it's very hard for them to get their names out there without like performing support slots or anything like that.
Yeah. But I mean, and as well, I think it might be actually a good idea to release an album in the middle of a pandemic where everything kind of is on hold. I mean, next year, if the pandemic settles down and stuff, I mean, there's going to be so many albums released, so many concerts, so much like different arts tour. Like it's going to be a great year for art, but it's going to be difficult as a smaller band to break through that sort of noise with everything else that's going on. So I mean, and the album was already, sent to print when the pandemic started. So, I mean, we just decided, whatever, just let's release it. So it wasn't anything planned, but I think now it was a good decision, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, the only concern I have about live shows returning next year is I've spoken with a few other bands about this who have told me that basically they can't book shows for next year because there's so many bands have rescheduled their gigs that there isn't much space for them to go and play.
No, I know. That's a big problem.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. I really do appreciate it.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
No
Thank you.
problem.
I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed talking to you too. It's been eye-opening.
Thank you. Take care.
Tack så mycket.
Tack så mycket. Thank you.
No problem.
That was great pronunciation, actually.
Thank you very much. I have a friend from Stockholm who taught me some Swedish.
Cool, man. Yeah, you're doing good. Keep it up, and get yourself smuggled over to Sweden, and we'll play for you in a forest.
Thank you so much.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Bye.